Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.
Welcome to Peter and Roughie's football show, sponsored by I'm Peter Mark. And Cowan are with me. It's Thursday. Great to have your company. Don't forget you can like, share and follow us on our Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we're here to talk football. We'll hear from Jamie McDonald. He's our one-to-one. The former Kilmarnock and Hearts goalkeeper is talking about a huge gamble that he's taking with his career, not to be missed. We've got Jim Goodwin, Yanis Hadji talking football as well, and of course Rangers via Leverkusen. And we'll also hear from Celtic midfielder Callum McGregor, and there's lots to discuss as far as the SPFL and their battle with Hearts and Partick Thistle. And here is the statement from the SFA and the SPFL, which has been released, which is the Joint Response Group welcomes the First Minister's update on the Scottish Government's route map out of the COVID-19 crisis and its positive implications for football. We are pleased that plans are underway to introduce live outdoor events with physical distancing and restricted numbers, potentially as early as July 23rd. While we appreciate this area is subject to further public health, we will work with the government to seek clarity on this advice in relation to the August 1st start to the Scottish Premiership. We will liaise with the National Clinical Director for Scotland to establish a safe and compliant process for the introduction of spectators to professional football matches. So that's another statement that I think is a positive one, Roughie. I thought it was maybe going to be January, but suddenly, as the government starts to relax certain social distancing rules, and of course still keeping safe, we look as if we're going to get fans in before the end of this year, which is great.
Yeah, I think Tam touched on it last week that without fans and without going to the games, it's a lonely place to be if you're a football supporter. So no, that's good news. I'm sure there's still a lot of things to do. I think getting into the stadiums will be fine. They'll be well organised. The distances will all be sorted out. I just have a wee worry about a large number of fans getting to a football game. You know, that how they travel and how far they travel and who they travel with, you know. So I think it'll have to be really, really monitored. But let's hope that everybody that goes to a football game, once it happens, that they abide by the rules and we can carry on from there.
Yeah, absolutely. It might be those spaces in between, Tam. Some clubs like Hibs and Hearts might utilise Murrayfield because they'll get more fans in. Celtic are hoping for 30,000 before the end of August with this social distancing measure in place. So you just wonder how the other clubs will go about their business and how many they're going to try and get in.
Yeah, absolutely. But I do like the idea of hubs, Peter. I mean, if I thought for a Marty talking Hampden Park was maybe used for some Motherwell games, then the Motherwell fans, the whole lot of us, would very, very comfortably fit in there, no matter who we were playing, of course, apart from, of course, Celtic and Rangers, and would be socially distant if that was a goer. It's a great idea when I heard Leanne Dempster talking about 15,000 Hibs fans potentially getting into Murrayfield at a safe social distance. It's all absolutely brilliant. But to be honest with you, I think what this has been, how this press release has come out for the SPFL and the SFA, is that I think the guys in charge of those two bodies have been sitting watching the English football making its comeback and decided that, you know what, we cannot have closed door games because they are absolutely rank red rotten. And I'm sure you'll agree, anybody that's tuned into the English football since it came back, I was hugely excited last week when the first game was about to come back, Aston Villa against Sheffield United. I'd never looked at an Aston Villa Sheffield United game ever in the past. You'd have just thought, absolute rank rubbish, I'm not going to watch that. But I was like a wee boy on Christmas Eve. I was absolutely excited about this game. But 20 minutes into it, once you'd seen all the stuff that was done, the beautifully choreographed, the taking the knee, and the managers just doing a wee elbow rather than shaking hands or having a cuddle, once you were over all that stuff, and the game started, you know, with the Sky Sports crowd noises, it was just pathetic. And I honestly, I haven't tuned into another single bit of it. And as you know, Peter, it's hard to avoid a game now at night. There's maybe 2, maybe 3 on per day now as they play catch up. So, you know, I'm maybe being slightly disingenuous here, but I wouldn't be surprised if the SFA and the SPFL were really wanting to get a move on in terms of getting fans back, simply because they too had been sitting there suffering these English games on the telly.
It's funny you mentioned that, Tam. I mean, Roughie, I've enjoyed Liverpool Crystal Palace last night because obviously I like watching Liverpool, but the other one was Man City dismantling a woeful Burnley. But other than that, I think, to be fair, it's not so much that the SFA and the SPFL will hurry things along. I get the feeling that they've probably got this situation where they're constantly liaising with the government, and because we've been I don't want to get political here, because we are slowly but surely getting to a really good figure and the R rate is down. I think now the government is starting to look at relaxation, which allows us to actually start to say to ourselves, well, wait a minute, we thought it might be January, but now let's pull it forward. Let's see what we can get in safely into grounds. And I think that's the really good thing from Scottish football's perspective, because I certainly hold my hands up and say I didn't see anybody getting in until January.
Well, no, obviously with the figures that we're all hearing, you know, that it sounded pretty bleak. Obviously down in London, and England's bigger than us. I think we have dealt with it very, very well. I don't think it's as bad up here, but we seem to be dealing with it, and we seem to be getting better and better day by day. And you're right. I mean, we've said all along, Peter, it will be the health people that will decide when we go back. They'll be the ones who will be telling the SPFL and the SFA when you can go back. So I think it's up to them. And the social distancing will still be there. But as I've said in the show, there's most of the grounds could do social distancing. There's only a few occasions when stadiums are absolutely jam-packed full, you know. So I think if it's done properly, I think the fans will appreciate it.
Yeah, okay. I want to say hello to Jimmy Griffin, Scorcher in Bonnie, Durham at the moment. Good. Excellent. Make sure you've got factor 30 upwards on, Jimmy. Hi to James Marshall. Niall Kane joins us. As ever, Mary McCormick, Lindsay Buchanan. Also with us, there's so many people. Stephen Martin as well. And also Stephen says, big shout out for Tam, who hosted the Friday quiz in aid of St Andrew's Hospice, which I know you do on a regular basis, Tam. So well done to you there. Tam McGuire also says, hi guys from sunny Pennalee. There are so many people who join us. Alison as well, Andy McHugh. Evening from sunny Tenerife. I wonder if he lives there rather than going there right away. A lot of people
and
just enjoying the.
Incidentally, Peter, Scorcher in Durham shouldn't be confused with a roaster in Durham, which was, of course, Dominic Cummings.
Yes, absolutely. Wow, it seems like only yesterday we were talking about him and we've completely forgotten all about it now. There's
exactly
from the past. Yeah. I have to say at this point, it's great to read that Jim Duffy is back home recovering. And we know he was checked on in the hospital after suffering a heart attack. So back home, and hopefully the family are spoiling him and making sure he's catered for and hopefully getting back to 100%. I always say, Roughie, especially with heart attacks, better they catch it, better you're still living, and then they can actually rectify the whole problem so that Jim hopefully is 100% over the next few months.
Yeah, and I'm sure everybody at Dumbarton will hope that he can recover very, very quickly. He's a big part of the club just now. I think they're all loving what he's doing down there. And I read in the papers that his daughter's not by him something funny for his birthday. I can't remember what it was off the top of my head. Just as sort of as a wee joke. But I'll try and find out what it was before the end of the show.
Yeah, if you can, Roughie, if you are to mention something that you don't know the answer to, don't bother.
Just test it. Somebody will come in. Somebody will tell us. Somebody will tell us.
Okay. Somebody tell us.
I had a wee text chat with Jim Duffy, Peter, when I heard the news. It was our mutual friend, a good pally Jim, Sheriff Lindsay Wood, who's very tight with Jim, who told me exactly what had happened. He sent me a text. So when I texted Jim just asking if he was okay and all the rest of it, and slightly tongue-in-cheek saying that's what happens if you don't smoke and you don't drink, He vowed that when he comes out, he's getting straight into 20 Bensons and a bottle of grouse to make sure he never has another heart attack. But that just shows you. I'll tell you what, I've thought about this before, Peter, because see the minute I heard, I knew that's what I was going to read about this with Jim, and it said, I think he got a couple of stents put in. These things, stents, they're absolutely amazing, and it's coming up in the first anniversary when I had my wee scare with my bowels after getting my test results back after my 50th birthday. And you know what, Peter, in the same way that in Scotland, which is a great thing, get screened, your bowels get screened at the age of 50. I would love it if they just whipped everybody out in at the age of 50 and also chucked a couple of stents in, whether you needed them or not, just to allow you to batter in your 50s, 60s and 70s, not giving one large jobby about your intake of everything that's bad for you. Because honestly, they are miraculous, these things. Have you got any in, Roughie?
No, none at all. None at all.
No.
And
I do worry when Peter worries about me when I play tennis, when I'm running about, because he keeps shouting out, "Are you all right?" So
because obviously,
because
at the other end of the net for you, Roughie, is clearly Ivan Lendl and his bomb.
The problem is, Tam, when I'm playing doubles with him, I'm doing all the running. He's doing all the delicate, skillful shots. No, you're right there, Tam. I mean, you've just quadrupled the NHS budget within about 2.5 minutes. Everybody's getting a stent and a checkup. Listen, before you start crying, I might as well get this. Northern Ireland, Stephen Robinson, Tommy Wright, they've all been interviewed for the job. There's 5 candidates in the running. Motherwell look as if they're going to offer him an improved deal. They must have known that he was coming anyway. They should have offered him it earlier to try and stave this off.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the bottom line is he's got 2 years to go on his Motherwell contract. So if he did go to Northern Ireland, we'd get a wee bit of dosh that way. But quite frankly, and this is my forecast, I don't think Stevie Robinson will get the Northern Ireland job, okay? And the reason for that being, I don't particularly think he necessarily wants it right now. But if he hadn't gone for the interview, Peter, that may have put the Northern Ireland Football Association off Stevie Robinson in years to come, when maybe he himself feels like he could do an international job rather than, as I know he loves, the day-to-day running of a club like Motherwell. Now, that is all conjecture, of course. The flip side of that I've got to say, it's well documented that we're heading into the worst economic crisis in this country ever, for the UK and beyond. And the bottom line is that if Stevie Robinson went to Northern Ireland, I reckon he would be at the very least quadrupling his money that he's currently on just now. So there'd be a lot of folks say that if he does get offered the job, that it'd be bonkers, absolutely bonkers, to turn it down. But you know what? There are no losers here, really. If Stevie Robinson got the Northern Ireland job, he would go with the very best wishes of the Motherwell fans for everything he achieved at Fir Park. And if he stays, as I still think he will, then we've got a lot to look forward to. So I'm a wee bit nonplussed about this so far, Peter, and we'll just see how it pans out. But when you look at suddenly a managerial loss, or players coming in, players coming out, I've never known Scottish football fans to be so laid back about the comings and goings in football than at this time of year, the transfer market, etc. It's just because, as things stand, we don't have a game to watch. Now, all the signs, particularly over the past 24 hours, are suddenly looking very, very decent, and we can start fantasising about being able to watch the game. And as you mentioned right at the start, Peter, this time last week, the very idea of fans getting back into a stadium from July 23rd, if that indeed is the case, it's astonishing. I'll put my hands up here right now. I didn't think fans were going to be allowed back in to a football ground in Scotland until next year, until 2021. So it's great, and that's why I think even story, no harm to Stevie Robinson, but that's why a story about us maybe losing a manager in Northern Ireland, it's almost small fry, whereas it had been front page news for all us Motherwell fans this time last year.
Yeah. Hi to Jen.
The unfortunate thing,
What?
Tam, is Craig Levine said it's the job he's always wanted. Motherwell one.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Does that make you happy?
No, I would take Craig Levine. There you go. I would take Craig Levine.
I wouldn't.
Absolutely.
Are you kidding?
Absolutely.
No chance.
As director of football with Michael Stewart as our manager. Let's put Michael in the firing line. It's too easy to sit in that sofa telling everybody, particularly Craig Levine, where they're going wrong. Let's get Michael out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you'd lose, obviously, 2 employees from the BBC if the 2 of them left. But nevertheless, I don't think that's an interesting one on Stephen Robinson. I hope he stays. I like him. I think he's doing a great job. The other thing I was going to say to you guys, hi to Jed, who says he loves the show, loves listening to all the guests that come on as well. As far as the guests are concerned, Jamie McDonald proves that if you are in a live interview situation and your kids come in, you just have to keep the interview going, Roughie. That's all I'm going to say to you, because watching the kids when you're in lockdown, it's very difficult, but he did well. So it's well worth watching that and finding out what he's going to do, because he's taking a big gamble with his career. And we're going to hear from Callum McGregor. But first of all, Jim Goodwin, because the St Mirren boss was speaking today. Obviously, first and foremost, he was talking very positively about the signing of the goalkeeper, Jack Anick.
He's at a great age now, is Jack. He's got, a really, really good bit of experience under his belt in terms of the amount of games he's played down in lower leagues in England. Obviously played 10 or 12 games for Rangers as well in Scotland. So, I don't think we could have got a much better replacement if we wanted to. We're constantly in dialogue with agents and players. I would like to try and get possibly another 4, maybe even 5 in. We're working hard. We've still got a number of key positions that I think we need to fill.
4 or 5 players, Roughie. I mean, and even when you consider what's going on, I did ask Jim earlier today if he would sacrifice the calibre of player, but I think he's got players in mind that he thinks will take a better level instead of always worrying what's down the bottom end.
Yeah, well, I think obviously he's learned from experience last year that you don't want to be down the bottom of the league for most of the season. So the experience of that, he'll know what kind of player he wants to bring in, what kind of player he wants to bring in. And good luck to him. If they were to bring in 4 or 5, I'm sure it would really boost the squad. I've got very good young players there already. But no, the more players you can get in, the better.
Okay, I'm not sure how to take this one, Roughie, but James Thompson says, Peter, tell Roughie I once had the pleasure of meeting his ex-teammate years ago in Peebles with his parents who were on holiday here. But no mention of who that ex-teammate is. Unless I'm reading
I can't help him.
Dennis.
Oh, good.
Dennis,
that was like one of Roughie's Jim Duffy stories there. Just kind of peters out. With no point.
You're wondering where it's going. Anyway, just before we hear from Callum McGregor, just on the point you touched on Leanne Dempster there, Tam, earlier when we were discussing it. Leanne Dempster's come out with the statement she's got no regrets about the way she voted and the predicament that Hibs are in. She says clearly that they are not going bust despite all the rumours. She's comfortable with the decisions she made. They've got cuts. They've got no intention of getting rid of the academy, and they wouldn't rule out going to Murrayfield. Now, all of that, all nice. I've got a lot of time for Leanne. I like her as a chief executive. I'm a wee bit, concerned about the fact that she's at ease with it all. First of all, I don't agree with Hibs not trying to save Hearts because they've lost the derby. I think some of her decisions now have, come home to roost. There's quite a considerable amount of money they've lost, and they're now in a situation where they're going to, lose a fair bit of money as well, asking people to cut their wages. hard decision she's had to make, but I would have thought the Edinburgh Derby is something you really want to keep. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, you would have thought so, but Peter, I think with the best will in the world, a lot of us have no idea what's going on behind the scenes at every football club. They're all going to face absolutely huge challenges. I must admit, for what I've read in the papers and read online, I find it strange somehow that it's always Hibs that's coming to the fore with these kind of negative stories. I mean, the place, if you believe everything that you read, they seem to be in really, really bad shape. When you hear about wage cuts, you hear about big stars at the club maybe having to leave, and then of course there was that rumour that was doing the rounds that may or may not have been started by Hearts fans. You don't know, just for a bit of badness, but all the rumours about administration and stuff. And then to put the cherry on the cake, which a story that Leanne immediately just laughed off as being utter nonsense. I think the word she used was daft. Was this very notion of her being recruited by Anne Budge to go to Hearts, which just seemed a wee bit of mischief making as well. But we don't know half of what's going on behind the scenes at the club. And I must say, I've heard from, a lot of people within the game who I'm in regular contact with about stuff that would turn your hair as grey as mine has been since I've been about 25 years old. But we'll just need to see how it pans out. And that's how I think I would sooner just salute stories when you hear stuff like Johnny Hayes being only too happy to defer his wages for an entire year just until Aberdeen get back in their feet. It's the stories like that I would like to concentrate on, because we do not know the half of it. But it's hard to, as we mentioned, I think a few weeks ago, Peter, we had a whole discussion about how there will be guys out there working as plumbers and joiners and electricians who, if they have a good week and maybe a wee couple of homers chucked in, they're actually earning around about the same money as top flight footballers in Scotland. And, that's why I think it's always worth reflecting on that when we think about footballers and just reminding ourselves that they are part of the statistics when it comes to people who are going to be facing financial hardship in the months and perhaps years to come. So I think we should just try now, particularly now that we've got the nod, it would appear, from the government and from the SPFL and from the SFA, that suddenly there's a right good sniff of Scottish football in the air. So I would like to concentrate on the positive stories, because you know what, Peter, if it was all doom and gloom that we concentrated on, I'm afraid we could be here on that subject for a very, very long time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, we've been here for 3 months on it because the way the whole thing was unfolding. I mean, I must admit, Roughie, I'd never heard any sniff. I don't know where that came from, that she had to deny it, but I'd never heard any sniff of Hibs going bust or being in any greater financial trouble than every other club is facing.
No, I think it's as soon as somebody says they're going to cut their academy, that's an alarm bell, because that is the future of any club. I know they did release 2 or 3 coaches, which didn't look good either, but that's what the way it is. It's cost cutting, and I think as long as the people are honest about it and upfront, and I think most of the people who have been moved on have realised the situation, and unfortunately it's them it's happened to. But there'll be more and more as the days go on. So the sooner we get back and income comes into the game, people will stop losing their jobs.
Yeah, George Cumming on YouTube says Robbo would be daft to turn down $500,000 a year for 4 years. Can you imagine Northern Ireland paying $500,000 a year, Tam? There's not a catch chance in
I
hell.
think it is. It's half that. I get the figure I saw quoted. Northern Ireland managers 250,000. And as I say, and I've got absolutely no idea, so I'm no telling tales out of school or anything like that, but I would imagine that the manager of Motherwell is on something like 75, 80 grand tops. So that's what I mean, Peter, particularly in these times. You could argue that Stevie Robinson, if he got offered the job, nobody knows who exactly did best in the interview and who Northern Ireland actually fancy. But, you would have to say, all things considered, when you look at the chasm in the wages between Motherwell and Northern Ireland, that he would need to be potty if he was offered it to turn it down. But it's a fascinating story. And as indeed, I mean, I'll ask you too, Peter and Roughie, for the outside looking in, if Stevie Robinson left Motherwell tomorrow, who do you reckon Motherwell should or will bring in as manager?
Well, I think Roughie made a very good point in yesterday's show.
Yeah, I said a point within. I think Keith Lasley's been there for a long time. He's learnt a lot from the previous manager and this manager. I think the boys like the way he coaches. So, and I would say don't mess things up. You know, keep somebody there who knows the players inside out and saw most of them maturing to where they are today. So, no, I would go within, but there will be lots of people after that job. But for me,
Yeah.
Keith Lasley's there.
I'll tell you, Peter, what will disappear for the Scottish football vocabulary from now on, if Murrow, let's say, we're speaking totally hypothetically here, of course, but let's say Stevie Robinson did leave and Murrow says, right, okay, we're giving it to Keith Lasley and Maurice Ross, who's there working behind the scenes as his number 2, or maybe even Stevie Hamill, who's working with the youths and is a big pal and a great colleague and teammate of Keith Lasley in their playing days. But see if Keith Lasley did get the job, there wouldn't be a single Motherwell fan, or there wouldn't be anybody in Scottish football would say, Motherwell have gone for the cheap option. Now, that's the sort of language we've heard every single year in the past in Scottish football. But when you look at everything that's happening round about us now, I think that particular phrase would be defunct. It is now obsolete. If clubs have got a cheap option, I can guarantee you they will take it, and they'll be applauded by their fans for doing so.
Well, I'm not going to in any way suggest he was the cheap option, but he's gone through his badges. I know Laz well. You know him, Tam well. Roughie, you know him because obviously I invite him on a regular basis to our PFA Player of the Year Awards as our guest. The only thing that happens, Roughie, is he gets the Motherwell manager's job. He says he can't come to the PFA night out, and the Keith Lasley 1977 Saturday Night Fever dance is lost forever because he'll have to be respectable, and the days of getting absolutely plastered with us are gone, Roughie.
Yeah, he's allowed one day of the year. He's allowed one day to let himself go.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a lot of time for it. I think he's good. Stuart Baird says something, Tam, and I'm wondering about this. And you might be able to shed some light on it as well, because I'm sure you've had him on your show on the BBC for quite a number of occasions. Stuart Baird says, I reckon John Yogi Hughes would be a good fit for Motherwell. Now, I'm not quite sure what's happened along the way with John Hughes, but I thought I liked watching Yogi's teams. I thought they played really good football. I'm not. I don't know if somebody's got a fixation of him that he's not a serious lad, or he's not a good manager. I love the way his teams played football. I don't know what the B and some bonnets are with him.
It's almost as if the worst thing he could have done for his career, Peter, was winning the Scottish Cup in 2015 with Inverness. Because ever since then, it just hasn't panned out for John Hughes at all. And, I think he's absolutely screaming out for a job. He's one of these guys that's always on the managerial merry-go-round whenever a vacancy arises. John Hughes' name is always in there with the bookies. And I can't answer it myself either. What I would say is, though, that there's a difference, as you're saying, if you get him in a show, or we've had him in our programmes many a time. One reason I'll always have a soft spot for John Yogi Hughes, he came in and did my TV show many years ago when his wife was almost just ready to drop twins, and rather than leaving her at home and not being able to look after her, he decided it'd be best if he brought this hugely pregnant woman all the way through from Leith to Queen Margaret Drive in Glasgow, and sat her in the green room while he recorded the show. And we were genuinely thinking on the night that we thought she was going to give birth in at the BBC, which would have been an absolutely sensational story. But if only because of that, rather than John Hughes at the last minute wanting to turn us down for the show, because that was always a nightmare. You know what that's like, Peter, if for any gig, any event, any programme, if somebody lets you down at the very last minute and you've got stuff lined up for them, you've got, maybe in the case of a telly show, you've got video clips geared up, you've got all sorts of stuff, it is a nightmare. So because of that, I will always have a soft spot for Mr. John Yogi Hughes. But I personally think, because I like him, I think he has to get a job pretty soon. before people start even thinking that he's older than he actually is. And they start thinking, oh, big Yogi Doos, he was yesterday's man, Just get him in now. If you want somebody to be laughing a joke in an interview and a wee bit of crack, he's fine for that. But relatively speaking, as a manager, he's a young man. So I think he has to get a gig soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, today, Callum McGregor was out there, obviously Celtic, promoting the fact that the season ticket renewal date is fast approaching. There are a number of fans that obviously will want to commit to it. Celtic say they'll give them value for money if they are watching it on their streaming service until, of course, they are able to get them back in the stadium. But, of course, I did mention to Callum McGregor today the news that Celtic are planning to try and get 30,000 fans in before the end of August, and that would obviously open up, as I mentioned to Callum, the possibility of fans being in for potentially the first Old Firm encounter of the season, which the papers have been speculating could be round about October.
Yeah, obviously, that's great news for everyone. Obviously, the supporters as well. They're desperate to be here, and obviously the players and the club are desperate to get them back in. So, that bit of news is obviously great news for everyone. They want the fans in as soon as possible, and to try and get fans in for that game would obviously add to the experience of the game and the excitement of the game. So, it's exactly what we want. We want fans in as soon as possibly safe to do so.
I always like Callum McGregor. I think he is one of the top 5 players in Scotland, Roughie. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think he's matured year on year. I think he's become a mainstay in the Celtic side. I think you can tell that by the amount of games he's played. I think he's played more than anybody else in a Celtic jersey. It just shows you how much the manager really appreciates him in the team. And with Scotland, I think he's becoming a mainstay. He's got energy. He gets forward, he scores goals, he can link up, he can play in 3 or 4 positions as well. So no, I think he is definitely in the Scotland team, for a start anyway. I would say him and John McGinn are ready starters in any 11. But I don't know, this is just an observation, Peter. Have I noticed a few new hairstyles in some of the players since they've come back off the lockdown? Because Scott Brown's got one, Callum's got one, James Forrest has got a wee boof on. It's absolutely amazing. They've all sort of rejigged themselves while they've been away.
Wait till you see Jim Duffy when he comes out of hospital. Shocker. You'll not recognise him.
I was going to say, Tam, they did mention it to him today about his hair, and he says he can't wait to get a haircut. But of course, he is one of those boys that you don't hear any stories about him. He just goes about his business, tries to do the best he can for club and country. You never hear any shenanigans from Callum McGregor.
No, he's a smashing player, and I would say to him as a Celtic player not to worry about his haircut, because the rest of us have to wait until July the 15th. But in the same vein as when the Celtic and Rangers games are going to take place, they can maybe get the extra privilege of having their haircuts whenever they so desire, Peter.
Yes, absolutely. Of course, the other thing that Callum McGregor is looking forward to, and I think every player's been talking about it, is the next stage will be the government allowing the players to get into contact training.
Yeah, of course. It's been a few weeks now that we've, had the kind of socially distanced stuff, and it's good to be back in, great to be back on the grass, and obviously training. But as footballers, you want to be getting it ramped up and getting the contact stuff back, and the mini games and possession, just to get your feel back in for the game. So hopefully the sooner we can do that, then the better.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the one thing about it, Roughie. Everybody's training, but there's, as you well know, there's a match sharp to it.
Well, it's very difficult, to be training with people without actually tackling. Tackling's a big part of the game. We turn into maybe that. That one of the walking football, where you don't tackle anybody. But no, there's balls going to go loose in any bounce game, and your reaction is to go for it. And I'm sure the opposition would as well. So I know where he's coming from, because most players like a tackle. And obviously the sooner that comes back, the better.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you like a taco, Roughie, as well. Hi to Tony Robertson, who's in Brisbane. Also, well done, Callum, says Aileen Feeks. And Tam Robertson says, cracking T-shirt. Where did you get it? One of my favourite midfielders of all time, Tam. You can get it on our website, Andrea Pirlo, among some of the best footballers that we have in the world. We've got them all on T-shirts, and there's a new batch coming out as well. Tam, we'll let you have your pick of yours because I know you haven't had a choice yet, but Pirlo's up there. If you had a classic old style player that you'd want on a T-shirt, who would it be? Apart from
An
Davy
old
Cooper.
style player in a an old style player on a T-shirt. I'd go with the wee man that I told you that I always loved for some reason since I was a boy, Mr. Noel Brotherston. There you go. There's a name for you.
Yeah, I dropped out there, Tam. Who did you say?
I went for Noel Brotherston. You remember him? The
No.
frizzy hair. He played. He was a Northern Ireland international. I always remember him running about the 78, 79 home internationals. Quite a wee guy, lots of frizzy hair, almost afro-like. I think his club may have been Blackburn, long before the days when Blackburn became a force again in English football. But he was just one of the wee guys that captured the imagination. So Noel Brotherston on a T-shirt, please. Thank you very much.
Yeah. There's a great Lanarkshire statement that I know that on many occasions you've heard from time to time. Drinking in Motherwell, Tam, you can go and take a run and to yourself. There'll be no Brotherston T-shirt getting printed. It's as simple as that. Anyway, we're talking about fans getting back into grounds. Of course, Yanis Hadji was talking about that, not only getting fans back into grounds, but obviously, the way things are looking now, fans will be able to get in, maybe, to watch games, especially the European games coming up. And Rangers fans will be looking on with great interest at the second leg of their match against Bayer Leverkusen, which Hadji believes they still have a fighting chance of surprising the Germans.
For sure, the Europe League games are really special, and not only for me, but I think for everyone. Everyone wants to compete at the highest level. So we have the second leg with Leverkusen, as you said, and even though we lost the first game, I think it's over in football. So anything can happen, and
yeah, anything can happen, but I think realistically the Rangers fans will be looking towards the next Europa League campaign, Roughie, with the one-off tie that's coming up rather than any great hopes. They'd need to pull off what I call the classic PSV Eindhoven result from the late 70s when Bobby Russell was strutting his stuff, Smudger was in the team, Derek Johnson.
Yeah, I'm sure the Rangers supporters saw the quality of the German side when they were at Ibrox, and they'll know how difficult it's going to be. They've also got maybe 3 or 4 weeks head start on them with the German league, and they've been playing well. They've been winning a few games as well, so I think Rangers are up against it. In that one, I would be really surprised if they overturn that one.
Yeah, William Wright says, Chance Ruffy can get a T-shirt with Senga on it. The search for Senga continues, Ruffy. It's as simple as that. And Tam, if you get that glacial look in your face, Senga was Ruffy's first love. Now, what a memory Ruffy's got. So the search for Senga continues. Don't hold your breath. We may well have to contact her by Ouija board, Tam, to be perfectly honest with you.
everything's all Glasgow centric in this show, isn't
it? Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, earlier on today, I caught up with a guy who is taking a big risk with his career. Of course, I caught up with ex-Kilmarnock and Hearts goalkeeper Jamie McDonald. Had a chance to stay at Killie, decided not to, and he wants to obviously try and hedge his bets on a move closer to home. Here's what he had to say. Well, I'm delighted to say our special guest is former Kilmarnock and Hearts goalkeeper Jamie McDonald. I don't want to mention all the clubs, Jamie, but nevertheless, those are two prominent ones. Great to have you on board. Are you and the family safe and well?
Yeah, we're all good, thank you, Peter. Just surviving lockdown like everyone else right now. Thankfully, the weather is beautiful today and kids are out playing, so a wee bit of peace and quiet for a little bit.
Well, let's cut to the chase. I was surprised that you decided to leave Kilmarnock. It's a big call.
Yeah, it was a big gamble. Obviously, with the current situation, I knew it was it was a very difficult decision to make. But for me, I live in Edinburgh, and I've been travelling back and forward to Kilmarnock for the last 5 years. And with the cuts and things that were involved, it was too much a strain on me. And I thought, I think now's maybe the right time to try and get something a little bit closer to home, especially with a young family, and trying to be a little bit more on hand there.
Yeah, and you've still got a good few years as a goalkeeper. You're only 34. So are you now looking towards somewhere close to Edinburgh for your next move?
Yeah, ideally, I think, the journey for me, Kilmarnock, is an hour and 45 minutes, one way. So you spend 3.5 hours of your day pretty much in a car. Last year I did it by myself. I was fortunate enough the first kind of few years to always have some form of travel buddies, which made it a little bit easier. But doing that drive your day every day yourself is, it gets a bit mind numbing, and it's not great for the body either. So I was looking to try and get something a little bit closer to the Edinburgh area if possible. Obviously, probably shoot myself in the foot a little bit with that, because it cuts your options down a little bit. But I try to focus more for me and my family.
If anything, it'll prick up the eyebrows and the ears of a few managers who are thinking, well, there's a top caliber goalkeeper available. But it's a big gamble, though. From that point of view, not many people will want to limit their options in this particular climate. I mean, it is a huge gamble for you.
Yeah, as I say, I knew that when I kind of made the decision. I did think long and hard, and I spoke to my wife about the situation. But for me, it was just too much. As I say, with the cuts that Kelly were offering, which I totally understand. In the current climate, all clubs will be doing the same. But it's just that drive every day, and I just didn't think it was worth the. It's putting yourself under a lot of pressure, even just in fuel expenses and things, to Kilmarnock and back every day to Edinburgh. It's a 140-mile all-round trip. You're doing that 6 days a week. It definitely takes its toll and adds up.
Yeah, okay. I think you're a Premier League goalkeeper, but would you move down to the Championship?
Yeah, of course. I don't want to completely cut my options altogether at the minute. That baby. Sorry, mate, I've got. You saying hello?
Baby. Hello. Hi.
Sorry.
Hello.
See, this is the joys of being stuck at home.
Don't you worry about it. That proves that it's live.
Yeah, that's true. Do I have a hissy fit to get out now?
Yeah, I mean, it just goes back to that goes back to that question: is the Championship something that you would consider?
Sorry. Yeah, of course. I wouldn't rule out too much at this stage. As I say, my aim is to try and get closer to home. But I wouldn't rule out the Championship at all. Ideally, I want to play. As you say, I want to play first team football week in, week out. That's first and foremost. I'm also open to going in and challenging somebody. I don't think I have the right to go and just walk in anywhere. So I'm just looking for somewhere that I can go and get a good challenge.
Yeah, well, I'm almost certain that a number of managers will look and think, okay, now we've got a clearer picture of it. Let's look at the Premiership as it stands. It's been the most unbelievable 3 months ever. And one of, I think, your old teammates suddenly has gone back to Hearts as the manager, and Robbie Neilson. Were you surprised?
Yeah, I think it was a shock for everybody. He's obviously been very successful with Dundee United in the last 13, 14 months. Got them promoted back to the Premier League. If all goes through, still don't understand what's actually happening at the minute. But no, I think it's a great move for Hearts. He had such a successful time there last time, and I think the way he kind of left, a lot of people are wanting him out the door, but his record speaks for itself at Hearts. I think win the Championship the way he did, and then I think it was a third place finish the following season in the Premier League, and Hearts, I don't think have hit the heights since. So I think it's a good move all round. As I say, it's a bit of a shock and probably a shock for everybody else as well.
Yeah, forgive me for putting 2 and 2 together and making 5, but if he doesn't get Craig Gordon, would you give him a call and say, hey, I'm here, I'm available?
Yeah, I'm open to anything. That would be definitely right in the doorstep. Literally 10 minutes for Tynecastle, but we'll just have to see what happens in general. Obviously, as you say, there's much publicised with Craig going back there, and what a fantastic goalkeeper he is. So I think we'll just have to see what happens in that.
Yeah, tell me you've got a good agent who's absolutely battering down doors on this. When you, as a player, and this is something that fans don't understand and don't see, as a player, do you start to get nervy because you want to be involved in the hustle and bustle of the training and the pre-season to get ready?
Yeah, of course. I think it's difficult at any point as a football player when you're out of contract and you're waiting for the phone call. But I think even more so in the current climate, it's even a little bit, makes you even more nervy, I suppose, because there is going to be a lot of competition for places because clubs, I'd imagine, will be cutting back in squads and things. And also, the difficulty was knowing Kilmarnock. As I say, I turned them down to go back there, and I know they went back to training, last week. So you all of a sudden you miss that, and knowing that teams are fair enough, and it's obviously in social distancing right now, but they're out there training, and I'm missing out on that. So any football player, you just want to get back to it, and especially it's obviously been a prolonged break because all football finished in March, so it's not just your usual 4 or 5 weeks off that you're maybe chomping at the bit to get back. It's actually you're 3-4 months in now, and desperate to get back and get a game of football, to be honest.
Yeah, Jamie, I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that some manager somewhere has watched this interview and gets on the blower to you to get you back playing. That's first and foremost what we'd like to see happen. The other aspect of this, which you'll probably find out in the next couple of days, is people will be phoning to say, wow, your kids are so well behaved. I can't believe it.
What for
You're going to get
services?
Absolutely. Jamie, thanks for joining us in the Football Show.
Thank you very much, Peter. Speak to you soon.
You're a big fan, Roughie, yeah?
Yeah, I'm a really big fan. I think he was treated badly. Same as sort of a Craig Gordon, playing particularly well. New manager comes in, obviously wants his own goalkeeper, and Jamie was dropped very, very quickly, which I couldn't get my head round because he was having a fantastic season. I think he was up there as in the top 3 of the goalkeepers of the season with his stats and everything, and I'm sure he'll be hurting a wee bit as well. But I think he's far too good a goalkeeper not to get a club. And I know we've got a very good young goalkeeper at Partick Thistle, but if you were wanting some experience, I'm sure Ian McCall would be certainly looking at a player like that, a quality, and as backup or whatever. But no, I don't think he will have any problems at all getting a club.
I think, Tam, when you're 34, you get 6 years as a goalkeeper. He's a good goalie. I think he wants to play as number 1.
Absolutely, and as Roughie said, he did go through a spell, Jamie, a few years ago there when he was right up there, arguably performing as maybe the best goalie in Scotland. He was dynamite. Some of his saves are outstanding. That's the great thing if you're a goalie, of course, at 34. You're not kind of the old man. You're not quite the veteran that you would be if you were an outfield player. And getting that right goalie can be absolutely crucial. I mean, we're delighted at Motherwell that with a clean bill of health after the terrible scare he came through, that we're going to have Trevor Carson coming back, and that means that the best tribute I can pay to Trevor Carson is that we're not panicking over the loss of Mark Gillespie. A lot of talk today, Peter, that Mark Gillespie is getting interest from Newcastle, which would be an absolutely brilliant move for him. He was tremendous last season for Motherwell. Stevie Robinson always did say that Trevor Carson was going to be his number 1, and as I say, after that really just absolutely terrifying health scare that he had, he's back, he's fully fit, and I know he'll do a job for Motherwell. But it's great. I mean, we've been blessed when you think about it down through the years, and Roughie will remember quite a few of them, like Darren Randolph, the big boy Rudden. We've been very, very lucky down through the years. We even managed to get Andy Gorham in the twilight of his career, if you recall that period. We've had a good run of goalkeepers at Motherwell, and long may it continue.
Yeah, and Ian Walsh on YouTube says, Roughie, why didn't Jamie McDonald just move to Killie and make the travelling that little bit easier? But as you know, when people live in an area, in a city that they've been brought up in, actually up sticks and move. Roughie, if I offered you the chance to live in a house in Edinburgh or a house in Kilmarnock, what would you choose?
I like Kilmarnock. I was at Hibs. I moved to Edinburgh. I moved to a wee place called Gifford. I loved Edinburgh. But a lot of people don't realise, Peter, that football players have got families. You know, they've got wives who make decisions. You know, and it's a team. You know, and if your wife says the family's quite happy here and the kids are happy here, we're good at school, a lot of fans don't realise that they've got to take all that into consideration, and that's exactly what Jamie's doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know
no
what,
point.
Peter? Jamie beautifully backed up my point further, and the point that we'd made some weeks ago about the top earners, the folk that sometimes get the criticism when they bleat about wages and salaries, etc. They are still the absolute tip of the iceberg, because there's Jamie very clearly, very openly telling your audience that even a simple thing like fuel, petrol money, would form a part of his decision about where he wants to play next. So, you know, you do put him in the bracket of the plumber, the joiner, the electrician. These guys are no millionaires. They're just out there trying to do a job. And that hit home there when he's saying that he's got to think about the money he puts into the tank, his car. And then, as you showed there so beautifully, he's got a young family to think about as well. So these are all factors now. And that's why, irrespective of any decision that a manager, in the case of Stevie Robinson, will he go to Northern Ireland, will he stay with Motherwell? In the case of players who leave clubs to go elsewhere because maybe, you know, they're getting just a few quid extra. In this era, you're never ever going to hear fans complaining and castigating these people as they once used to do. It's just not going to happen now in the modern era.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, obviously, you know, people who are in the game of football and earn the living from it, and of course in the entertainment world, sometimes they have to make decisions that are difficult as well with their family. As Roughie rightly points out, some people who had their own show leave where they were brought up in Lanarkshire and move elsewhere out with the area and take everything with them and then just leave their family behind in Lanarkshire. So that's such a tough decision, just leaving your sister and everybody else behind. So there you go. Roughie, apparently Steve Clark's had a wee chat with Lyndon Dykes, and he hopes that he's going to choose Scotland. Now, I don't know about you, Roughie, but I'd take the big man in a heartbeat. His parents are Scottish. Surely they can put a bit of pressure on him.
Yeah, I would like to think so. I would like to think that, and it's good that he's made contact, because the boy's obviously in two minds. We're very short in that department, so why not? Who's to say this year he's going to be better than last year? So he might be a big player. We saw what Shanklin did when he came in. He didn't let himself down. So no, bring it on. You know, I think we can't be fussy. So yeah, I hope he does join us.
Yeah,
no, we can be fussy. We can be fussy. Let's get a move on. I thought I jumped in a TARDIS there when you mentioned about Lyndon Dykes deciding who he wants to play for. Was this no a story for about 18 months ago now? If he's wanting to play for Scotland, get him out there to say, yeah, I want to play for Scotland. And if he doesn't, let him go and play with Australia at the other end of the world. This is ridiculous. I'd assumed until you opened your mouth there, Peter, that this must have been resolved by now. What's the delay? I mean, he's a smashing big player, and he showed exactly what he could do last year. I'd seen quite a bit of him playing when he had, I don't know if he's still got it, but the blonde dyed napper that made him even stand out for the crowd. He looked a brilliant goal scorer, but I cannot believe, if that had been the pub quiz tonight, has Lyndon Dykes already decided his international future, yes or no? I would have got that one right. That's astonishing.
Well, Tosh Malone says, if I were him, I'd opt for Australia. Tosh, seriously? Are you kidding me? This is the best country in the world. What could possibly dissuade him from actually picking Scotland? And think of the petrol money alone for Australia. I mean,
Aye.
your kids and everything. It's a hell of a journey to play international football. Let's hope he progresses at the level that he's doing at the moment. He played well for Queen of the South, as Roughie pointed out, in countless shows, and has played really well for Livingston as well. He is a handful. We could certainly do with something like that. Big Joe Jordan style strikers. We've had them thin in the ground. Anyway, listen, I know Tam's not a fan, but I was going to say to you, I've watched Liverpool last night batter Crystal Palace. A joy to watch because obviously I'm hoping Liverpool can win it. They're a point away from winning the English Premier League. And I know I'm going to get your thoughts on it, guys, but Manchester City against Chelsea, if Man City fail to win this game, Liverpool only need a point to actually win it. So Frank Lampard could do them a right turn tonight.
The fact that we're 3 points off them, we can be aware of, but we also have our own tough games in front of us. So I think it's something that we need to absolutely focus on ourselves to try and get as high up the league as we can.
Not one single player with this preparation that we had can play every 3 days. Now it's going to happen. We have 3 days after Newcastle, 3 days. We have 4 days Liverpool, 3 days Southampton, 3 days Brighton. So no one player of this team can play 90 minutes every 3 days.
I'm going to watch it, Roughie. Are you going to watch it?
Yeah, I don't mind watching it when there's goals going in, hitting the back of the net. If it's 3 or 4 or 5, I think it's good. But Tam's right. If it's a nothing each or a 1-0, God, it'd bore the pants off you. But certainly no, I think there'll be goals tonight. Correct me if I'm wrong again, Peter. If Man City do win the night, where is it Liverpool can win it?
I haven't, Scooby. I haven't even looked at the fixtures.
No. Yeah, I thought it was Man City. I thought it was Man City. I'd like to see a Liverpool-Man City game coming up.
I think they've got one more after that, Roughie. But listen, you, Tam, I know you're going to be negative about it, but you just said at the start of the show you're going to be positive now because everybody's being positive. So give us a bit of positivity. Will you watch it?
The positivity tonight is that there's a whole wealth of stuff on all the other TV channels, most of which are free to air, so you don't even need to bother with a Sky subscription to watch what will be basically a glorified training session tonight, played behind closed doors with baffling sound effects played in by the broadcaster and the players going at it at a snail's pace, which has already been statistically proven. The analysts have looked at the first clutch of games, Peter, and I think they reckon the pace of an average game, the pace was down by about 20 to 22%. We need the fans back in. And the interesting thing is, I like the wee kind of, I hope you saw it, Peter, a wee bit of fireworks that was sparked on social media this week when I think it was Man United, either officially or unofficially, put out a quote attributed to Sir Matt Busby saying that football without fans is nothing. And as you can imagine, quite a few Celtic fans took issue with this, as the quote, as far as we were always concerned in Scotland, was attributed to Jock Stein. So it'd be interesting to get to the bottom of that one. Whether it was Matt Busby or whether it was Jock Stein. What do you reckon yourself, Peter?
Oh no, it was 100% Jock Stein. The Man United. I've just jumped on it. Plagiarism.
But wait a minute. You're showing your colours here. Hang on. You know that Celtic have a history of knocking stuff, right? Now, You'll Never Walk Alone, which was stolen from Liverpool, of course. The Poznan celebration that they loved doing at European Games, that was old hat. So I'm going to side with Sir Matt Busby, Bellshill's finest, and say that dear old Jock Stein stole that off him.
What would you know about this area? You've moved out. It's definitely not seen.
I had to move out because they were making way for your conservatory. It was like the Highland clearances. 350 families get moved out of Motherwell the minute you brought out the blueprints for the swimming pool. You would think you were staying in a sleeping bag on top of the pool table in the Carfin vault, so you carry on.
You know, it's taken him 7 minutes, Roughie.
Wow.
To eventually he's gone for it. He's
Peter's got a little chef halfway up his drive.
Oh, brilliant, Tam. Listen, it's Liverpool at the Etihad on July 2nd. Of course, there's FA Cup games coming up, but you're right, Roughie. The next game, Liverpool at the Etihad. Can you imagine Liverpool winning? I hope Man City win tonight and Liverpool win at the Etihad to win the title. That would be awesome, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. I'm sure Tam will tune into that one. I'm sure he's desperate. He's desperate for that to come round. Oh, here I found out what Jim Duffy's kids bought him for a wee surprise.
Finally.
They bought him a ticket for white water rafting. I'm sure he'll enjoy that in the state he's in.
Yeah,
that's the way to recuperate. That's the way to
joke.
recuperate after a massive heart attack.
Yeah.
Dear
to be fair,
the parachute jumps were sold out.
The biggest drawback, Roughie, I have to tell you, is I'm lucky on 1,000,001 occasions he would turn out for Dukla Pumferson. He would play in charity games, and I have to tell you that he was just a joy to play alongside at football as well. I mean, to win Player of the Year with Morton was no mean feat when he was absolutely at the peak of his game, but playing alongside him was a joy. He talked you through the entire game, Jim Duffy. He was a gem. And I'm going to get back to 100%. Peter Tierney says it was 100% Jock Stein. And as for You'll Never Walk Alone, we enhanced it, says Peter Tierney. There you are. Also, we will obviously talk football tomorrow. I'm struggling here because Tam's been ripping into me. Anyway, there's a good guest on tomorrow. That's all I'm going to say. Who's going to answer Tam's question that he put to us in the programme today? That's all I'm going to say at this moment, because obviously I don't want everybody all over it. I'll have a guest tomorrow, Tam, and I will send you his answer to one of the questions you posed on the programme today. Is that okay for you?
Yeah, I'll need to watch this back now. See what the question. No, I'm only kidding on. Of course, I'm not going to watch it back.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Come on, it's about 112 degrees outside. Get a move on.
On that, we'll now finish with a classic. Sometimes we play music on the show, sometimes we don't. Here's Jerry and the Pacemakers singing You'll Never Walk. Thanks to Roughie. Thanks to everyone. You can get these T-shirts on our website, by the way. There's quite a lot of people commenting on it as well. If you enjoyed the show, like, share and follow us. And if you get a chance and you're on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to us as well. More special guests tomorrow on the show. Tam McManus will be on to apologise again for the 15th time. McManus apologises on the show, this time for swearing on Wednesday's show. You'd have thought it was Cowan that was the problem, but apparently there was some language that I missed on it. But apparently there's a big apology coming from McManus tomorrow with Ferguson and Roughie. So join us if you can, from Tam, from Roughie and myself, Peter Martin, living in a sleeping bag in Lanarkshire. Thanks for watching.
Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.